Taiwan's border controls will be tightened starting Sunday to block the advance of the Delta COVID variant. The highly transmissible Delta variant was first detected in India, but has since swept the globe. Starting Sunday, international arrivals from 7 high-risk countries will need to quarantine at a centralized facility. Let's hear from the health minister.
相关的这些有这个变异株的几个重点的国家。
The first measure affects arrivals from countries with significant numbers of Delta infections. These are India, the UK, Peru, Israel, Indonesia and Bangladesh. Brazil is also included due to the virus variant that's dominant there. People who have a travel history in these 7 countries in the previous 14 days, including flight transfers, will need to complete their 14-day mandatory quarantine in centralized quarantine centers. They will be administered a PCR test at the start and end of quarantine, and they will not be required to pay fees for the stay in the quarantine center or the tests. As for arrivals from all other countries, they must quarantine at their own expense for 14 days at a hotel or centralized quarantine facility. They will also need to get a PCR test before the end of the quarantine. Flight crew of Taiwanese airlines returning to Taiwan from key high-risk countries will have to undergo 14 days of quarantine and get a PCR test before it ends. They can also stay in quarantine hotels or accommodation especially designated by their companies.
On Friday, the Central Epidemic Command Center said it had identified 2 more cases of the Delta COVID variant in Taiwan, taking the total to 7. All 7 are imported cases, and the latest 2 are Taiwanese who recently returned from Peru. The CECC says the 2 cases may be connected to a COVID cluster that's emerged in Pingdong County. Also on Friday, the CECC announced 76 new local cases and 5 COVID-related deaths.